session. And welcome everybody to a session to talk about the library resources that you have available to you here at Gaston College. As Mr. Powell mentioned, there are a number of great resources that we have. And the great thing about the library resources is that they have a lot of weight behind them because they do have fact checking behind the resources themselves. They've gone through some sort of editorial review. Not to say that things, if you Googled them or used Bing.com and found some information out on what we call the free web, not to say that all that information is bad or suspect, but you have to be the critical evaluator of that information, where the library has had some sort of review of the information that we provide to you, and therefore you don't have to necessarily critique the information from that level to whether or not it's useful for you to use. So it kind of answers that question for you already of whether or not this is useful information for you to have access to. Now, it's traditional information. It's traditional things that we've gotten from the publishing world. You would come into the library, and of course we have books that are available for you, and we have magazine articles and newspaper articles. We have videos to check out, but the things that we'll talk about today are electronic. We have a lot of ebooks available for you, have articles online, we have streaming videos, we have statistical information online. So we have a really large library resource that's all available to you from the computer. But I do want to mention to you that if you'd like to come and use our library, you may. You can come in between 7:30 and 6 Monday through Thursday. Now, my hours this semester is a little bit different than a normal semester. We usually have longer, more extended hours under regular times, but during this pandemic, it's 7:30 to 6 Monday through Thursday. We also have a chat feature. I'm going to show you where that's located. So if you run into any kind of problems, you can always chat with us. It's a 24/7 chat. You might get someone who's a library staff member here, but it's manned by a group of librarians across the state of North Carolina. And so it's 24/7, it's constantly being monitored. So if it's not answered by us, somebody will help you and answer your question if you need to at any time of the day. Now, I'm going to share my screen to kind of get started. We're going to do something a little bit different today. While I am going to show you where the library homepage is, I'm going to send a link to Mr. Powell to a page that I've created for your class that he's going to have embedded into Blackboard. And that's really the web page that we're going to look at and talk about today, because it kind of takes all the resources that I wanted to show you and puts them in one place, instead of you having to go out and look at a lot of different places, or even look at our website, which the library website has a lot of links on it and may sometimes seem like it's a little bit more difficult to figure out which direction you want to go. And I think this class guide that I've created for Mr. Powell is going to be more, is going to drive you into looking at information a little bit easier, and find really what you want, because we want this to be an efficient process for you, so you're not running around spending a lot of time trying to search and find things. So the first thing I want to do, let me go ahead and share my screen here really quickly, and show you that this is the Gaston College homepage. And the nice thing about the library, where the library is located, now they put us in a lot of different locations on this page, but we are located at the very top of the screen in this navy bar between GC Foundation and Lincoln Campus. And when you click the library link here, that should take you to the library homepage. Now, again, I mentioned there's a lot of links on this page, but just to kind of draw your eye to something, over here to the right, underneath research help, this is the chat box that you can use. And if you run into any kind of problems, you can chat with us here. But also on the page that I'm going to send Mr. Powell, that's going to be embedded into your class, it also has a chat feature as well. And that page is going to look like this. So you're going to come in and see a page that looks like this. It's not going to say college research here, but it's going to say English 112 and have Mr. Powell's name. But this is going to be the page that you're going to go into to find your resources. So we're going to talk about this homepage, and then we're going to talk about the links that are up here at the top of the page, and then we'll be finished for the day. I want to point out to you that the chat feature, in case you need any help, is located over here to the right. So there's another little chat box that's over here on the home page. And if you run into any kind of issues and needs help with the writing process and the writing of your paper, we have a fantastic writing center here at Gaston College. They're doing a lot of their work virtually online, and you can submit a paper and they can review it for you. So you don't have to come to campus to actually do that. And you can find them through this link. There are also links on the Gaston College homepage for the Writing Center as well. I mentioned that I'm recording this session, and I said that, you know, I have other sessions recorded, and there's other kinds of videos. That's what this is over here to the left, where we have the YouTube graphic. This link will take you to our YouTube channel for the libraries. A lot of different resources are there, and that's where this class schedule, where I've recorded this, is going to be posted there as well. And the last thing I want to show you here on this page is this thing called the ProQuest Research Companion. This is a free thing for you to go into. Now, this was created by a company who really wanted to explain how you become a really good college level researcher. And so if you want to get a good overall orientation of all of the different issues that come with finding good factual information, this is a really good thing for you to go into. It's completely free, and it's something that you can do on your own if you want to. And it's called the ProQuest Research Companion. Now we're going to talk about the tabs that are listed up here at the very top of the screen. So I'm going to move from the Home tab over here to the Selected Topics tab and show you that underneath Selected Topics, in general, I do have some topics of interest that are listed here with some more specific questions about that particular topic that you can kind of dive into and delve into. Some of these things might be something that might interest you because of the themes that you've ran into with the play that you're doing, but we also have a link over here in the top left to this really good resource that is a really good first place for you to go to find information, and it's called SIRS Issues Researcher. Now, if you click that link, it will take you into a page where you can see different topics of interest that you can go into and explore. The topics are listed under trending topics here. We have something on social media, homework, virtual classrooms, video game addiction. We have the editor's picks, conspiracy theories, Russia, space vehicles, things like that. Now, at the top of the screen, beside the home button, there's a leading issues drop-down menu. And if you click it, they've taken topics and they've categorized them under different subject areas. So if you were only wanting to see subject areas dealing with business, you could click that. If you wanted to see things dealing with drugs, health, and wellness, you could click it. You can also come down to this very bottom and click all leading issues. And over here on the right, you can click A to Z. And when you click A to Z, it's going to give you an A to Z listing of tons and tons of different resource topics that you can go into. Now, some of these are topics that might interest you because of the play. It has things that deal with the theme that you're interested in. It's not going to fit everybody's topic necessarily. So there are some other places where you can go to find information. But if you come down through this and you find something that you like, and so I'm just going to pick one at random. I'm going to pick this one that says freedom of speech. And when I click it, it's going to give me an explanation of what the topic is about. I can click the full summary just to read a little bit more about the topic. And then it gives me a question. And the question is, should there be limits on free speech? Well, some people would say that freedom of speech and expression should be protected by the First Amendment. We do have that as in the Bill of Rights. And then some people might take the viewpoint that some dangerous or harmful or offensive speech should be limited. And there are some court rulings that deal with that in terms of, you know, we do have a thing called freedom of speech, but there are certain limitations on the speech that we can do. And sometimes that pertains to dangerous, harmful, or offensive speech. Now, over here on the left-hand side, these three links will bring you to articles that support this viewpoint. And over on the right-hand side, these three links are articles that will support this viewpoint. So I'm going to pick one at random on the left-hand side. When you click the link, this is going to take you to the resource. Now, when I use the term resource, I'm talking about primarily a magazine or a newspaper article. And so this is coming from a resource called the TCA Regional News. It's a newspaper. It was published March 1st, 2020, and the title was Social Media Fight, Elected Officials Can't Block Their Critics. And the whole article is printed online right here for you to read. Now, some are longer than others. It's not necessarily a long article, but if you found information within this and you wanted to use it for your paper, on the right-hand side, the databases that we have, like SIRS Issues Researcher, have cite buttons. And when you click the cite here, your MLA citation is available for you, that you can copy it by highlighting it or clicking the copy button, and you can copy and paste. Now for your English classes, primarily you're going to use MLA, but if you're in another class and your instructor wants you to use APA citation, you can click the drop-down menu, select APA, and it'll rewrite it in the APA format. So these citation guides are used to tell the instructor where you got your stuff from. The first thing that it usually tells people is who wrote the article, but some articles don't always have an author attributed to it. And if you don't have one, and this one didn't, then it doesn't start off with the author's last name and their first name listed in the first field. But it does show you the title of the article, the name of the publication, the date of when it was published, the database you got it from, and then the link so that an instructor or anybody reading your paper could click that and go and see the original source of where you got your information from. Now, if you go back a screen to that original list of articles, these aren't the only 6 articles available to you on the topic of freedom of speech. You can always come down and click Find More Sources for Freedom of Speech. And now we've got 9,216 results of tons and tons of different articles that are coming back from various types of resources. Most of them are coming back from newspapers. Some might be coming back from web resources that have been shown to be good resources for you to use. Some might be coming back from parts of books. And if you wanted to see the different types of sources that you're getting information from, that's listed up here in the upper left-hand side. So of the 9,216 articles dealing with freedom of speech, almost 4,000 of them come from newspapers, 2,300 or more, almost 2,400 come from magazine articles. There's some that are images that relate to this topic that you can explore. And you could select any of these and only see those results come back. So if I only want to see the newspaper articles, I could just click it, just see the newspaper articles. If I can uncheck that, I could select the magazine articles. So you can pick the certain source types that you want. Keep in mind that there is a topic, or there's a source type over here called scholarly journals. And so if you click it, the hits come back from journal articles. It's a little bit different than magazine and newspaper articles. Just want to let you know that magazine and newspaper articles, where most of the resources are coming back from, are articles that are written at levels that we all can kind of understand. They're kind of written to a more general, wide scope of an audience. Scholarly journals can sometimes be written for researchers, by researchers, and so the articles can have a little bit more in-depth and weight to them and be very specific. It's not that they're bad resources at all. They're really good resources for you to use, but they're written at a different level than magazine and newspaper articles. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're looking at different resources and some of the hits that come back.
Yeah, one thing, Calvin, yeah, the diction and as Calvin said, some of these scholarly journals are geared toward a particular profession or academic discipline. So they'll be using the language of those disciplines. So yeah, I would agree with him. You know, they're a little bit on a higher order sometimes as far as word choice, diction, and just their complexity, but they're still great. I mean, that's really kind of the ultimate. That's sort of the highest form of source you can find, right, Calvin?
Yeah, and it's also going to be real specific information. It's going to be an article that's going to be written about a specific, very, very specific topic.
Right.
Where newspaper and magazine articles might write about issues dealing with freedom of speech in a more broad concept or broader way. So it's just something for you to kind of keep in mind as you're going through these and taking a look at some of the hits that are coming back. just keep in mind that if you have everything coming back at one time, if you look at your list, it'll tell you the types of resources here at the very beginning of where they're coming from. Some are marked as other resources, so they're not really giving it a designation. But most of these say newspaper, one says government resources here, and newspaper. So you can kind of see, or you can come up here and select. Now there's another thing you can do too, if you want. You can also select that you only want to see the most recent stuff. So if you only want the last 30 days, you can click last 30 days, and this is the last month of hits. So there's 29 articles, but these are 29 articles that just recently came back within the last month. And they're constantly adding more information onto this database. So clicking that today is going to be different than a month from now, as you'll have different hits that'll come back. So kind of keep that in mind, that you also have that ability to do. There's also one for the last year, and you can also do custom date ranges if you want to as well. And when you're talking about limiting and looking at different resources, a lot of people, researchers, will kind of take a look at the sources that they're getting back and kind of explore things that way, or they might limit themselves to the publication date if they want to get more recent things that come back. But service issues research is a really great place for you to get started with. You can keyword search it up here in the search box if you want to. If you want to go back home, you just click the home button, and that can take you back here. You can do keyword searching in this box as well. But it's a database that's kind of driven towards topics and exploration of topics. But again, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to have everybody's topic in this class. So if that's the case, there are a lot of other places where you can go to find information. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and close out Service Issues Researcher and get back to that page that we used to jump off of, which is going to be the page that's going to be embedded into your class. And we've already talked about this tab, so now we're ready to move over. And we have this drop-down menu of how to find various things, how to find books, how to find ebooks, how to find articles, streaming videos, and statistics. I'm going to skip down into this section that says find articles. And again, if you're looking for more magazine, newspaper, and journal article type resources, these hits might help you here. These links might help you here. Now, I want to point out that the second one listed is Service Issues Researcher. We already saw that over here in the selected topics, so we're not going to click it again. And Credo Reference, I'm going to let you kind of explore that on your own. Credo Reference is one that's really good if you want to get background information on a particular topic. It's not as much written as an article where it's more background information. If you wanted to, maybe there was a person you were looking for, maybe there was information about someone like Edward Snowden, you could go in and Credo Reference and find some more background information about, or biographical information about the person. But if you're wanting to find articles where people have written about Snowden and the things that have done, you might want to come up and use these two resources, either Service Issues Researcher or ProQuest Central. When you click ProQuest Central, that's going to take you to another place for you to search. But this is more like a keyword searchable database, very similar to doing Google searching, but it has a little bit of tricks to it. So these are some of the things that I kind of want to point out to you when you're going in and doing a search. So the first thing is that we're going to pick a topic of interest, and I mentioned the name of the person name. His first name is Eric, right? Eric Snowden?
Edward Snowden.
Edward Snowden.
Yeah.
Okay, Edward Snowden.
Yeah, the NSA whistleblower.
So I'm typing his name in, and I put that in quotation. I didn't capitalize him because you really don't have to capitalize in this situation. You're doing papers, but here, don't worry about it. But I did put the quotations there because if I didn't and I hit enter, it's possible that an article that just happened to have the name of a person named Edward and another person that had the word Snowden in their name and the article could come back, but not necessarily side by side. And so if you want relevancy in your search, if there's a topic that you're interested in, if there's a phrase like freedom of speech, and you want to find those words together, it's just good to put those in quotations to kind of tell the database you want to find them together. So when I go out and do a hit search for that, I got 105,000 hits with the name Edward Snowden. So that's a lot of hits that came back as far as having his name show up in different places. Now, one of the things that came back is that Edward Snowden, so that we know that we're putting this in context to know that it's not just an Edward Snowden that is some other person. Mr. Powell, you said something about NSA.
Yeah, yeah, NSA leaks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was the National Security Administration of our agency. Maybe that's it. National Security Agency.
Yes. Yeah,
He
he
worked
had
for them,
access to
and he had access to
classified.
classified documents, and he leaked those. So if you want to find articles that mention both his name and mention that government acronym of NSA, basically you just type in the word and add in the new term. Now, and that's why am I typing in and? It's called Boolean searching. It's just a way for you to tell the database that you want to find this term and this term in the same article. And if you have both in the same article, hopefully it's going to give you more relevance in your search. So if I and in that term, the hits are going to go down because it has to have both listed in the same article. The idea is that if you put in more and more terms and you and them together, you will get hopefully more on target with what you want, and you'll get less hits coming back. So it's going to be a more directed search than if you just type that person's name in and it went out and grabbed that information just because it had the name. Now, what are we getting back as far as hits? We're getting back, again, just like Service Issues Researcher, we're getting back articles that are coming back. But in this database, this company, they have a lot more scholarly journals that will come back as far as hits, but they also have newspapers and magazine articles that come back as well too. And again, if you only wanted that type of resource to come back, you could select scholarly journals, and that's all you get back as hits. So you would only see the journal articles if you selected that. Another thing that is sort of the same thing as saying that you only want scholarly journals is this button here that says limit to peer reviewed. Peer reviewed is kind of another thing that kind of explains that it's also gone through some sort of review system to be published in a scholarly publication. I'm not going to get into the weeds too much about why the hit count is a little bit different, because the scholarly journals before said 846, and if you hit peer reviewed, it has 640. Typically, those numbers won't fluctuate that much, but basically that button is about the same thing as saying that you want to have just the scholarly journals. This is really important because you have some instructors in a lot of different classes who will say they want you to use library resources and they want you to find scholarly journals. Well, ProQuest Central is going to be your best place to go to at Gaston College to get the largest number of scholarly journals to come back as your hits. And if you only want those hits to come back as just the journals, then this is a way to do it by clicking peer reviewed or clicking this link that says scholarly journals. So that's why it's important for me to tell you that about that. It's not necessary in this class because you can pick different types of resources.
Right.
But I want you to know that that's a way that you could limit if you just asked to find journal articles themselves.
And there could be a future course they take, Calvin,
Right.
where the instructor only wants scholarly journals.
So as I go down through this list, I'm going to pick one as a kind of a random hit. This is a newspaper article from the Washington Post, and it has the full text of the article listed here. And again, just like Service Issues Researcher, if you go to the right-hand side of the page here, you're going to see the Cite button. And if you click Cite, your MLA citation is going to be there. It just so happened I picked another one that didn't have an author attributed to it, so the author's not in the front, but it does show the article. And when it was posted, it has the Washington Post as the source of where it came from. It has the date, and it has ProQuest listed as the database and the link to tell you if the instructor could click that link and go back, or anybody reading your paper. So all the different elements are the same as what we saw in the Source Issues Researcher. And you can go in and you can highlight this and copy, or you can click the copy button and you can place that into your paper. Again, if you have an instructor that wants you to do APA citation, you do have that option here if you want to, and it will redo this in the APA format. So just kind of keep that in mind, that these databases will do MLA, they'll do APA and other citation formats. Primarily at Gaston College, instructors will, for the most part, if you're in an English class, you're going to use MLA documentation. If you go into the science area, sometimes if you have a paper to do there, they'll do APA. And then there's some classes where they'll say it doesn't really matter, you can pick whatever citation style you want. Between the two, I think MLA is a little bit easier to do if you get that option. So, but primarily MLA is sort of an English writing kind of citation style. And that's why English
humanities.
You'll hear that. Yeah, the humanities. You'll hear that a lot in the humanities, communications and things like that.
Right.
So just kind of keep that in mind. Now, another thing to point out with the databases is when you're searching, while we did have a lot of hits that came back here based just on the terms that we typed in, if you come in and find an article and you really like it and it seems like it's really kind of on topic with what you're interested in, do keep in mind that the related items that are over here on the right hand side, these are hits to other articles that really relate to this article. And so sometimes, instead of going back a page to that original result list to find more articles, you might find some better things if you come over here and mine this area, or even click this link that says show more related items.
Yeah, for instance, guys, notice, Calvin, put your pointer on this. Snowden, a traitor or hero. A couple people are doing that whole thing. The psychology of heroism when it comes to whistleblowers who put everything out on the line, to ruining their reputations, maybe putting their lives in jeopardy. And this is true for a lot of whistleblowers. Are they heroes, or do they do more harm than good?
Right, right. And again, clicking onto this one gives you another list of related. And again, you can just continue to look at the related items and see if there's anything that's of use for you. Some articles are a little bit longer than others as far as that's concerned. So just kind of keep that in mind.
Now, but what would you tell someone who only gets an abstract of an article? Or do you go ahead and just say, I only want full text?
Well, typically the database, the one that I chose that was really short, that was a very small article. So all of these are checked to be what's known as full text.
Full text, yeah.
So if I come back and do my basic search again, you can also click this box that says full text, but the database is kind of set up to where you're only getting full text to come back. If you don't have that box checked, it's possible that you'll get a hit where it just gives you a description of the article, but not the whole article itself. It's possible the library, if you contact us, we can get a copy of that article for you if you want. But if you really just want to make sure that you're only getting hits that are in full text, it's good to have this box checked. Just make sure it's checked. And then when
guys, really, the abstracts, it's possible that Calvin and the other people over there could get a copy of that publication, but your best bet is, most usable format is full text. You get the whole article.
Right, right. And what Dr. Powell, just as far as language is concerned, when we're talking about abstracts, a lot of the companies will give you a paragraph summary of what the article is about, and that's called the abstract. Just trying, clicking around just to find one of a good example that some have abstracts and some don't, but basically an abstract is a paragraph summary of what the article is about. So it just kind of gives you a heads up. Like this one has an abstract here. So when I click it, and I click abstract, it's sort of a paragraph summary of what the article is about. And the other thing too about abstracts, they'll show up as you're going down through your hits here, you'll see that there's a show more that's over here on the, or show abstract that's over on the right-hand side. So you can kind of open that up or close it. So that'll kind of give you a heads up of what the article is about. So just kind of keep that in mind. There's a lot of things to read on the screen here to help you get to what you need. I know that there are links here that say full text or full text PDF. When you go in and look at articles, sometimes it's good just to go to the splashdown page, and that's by doing the click through the article title itself. And then when you get there, you can kind of explore different things. The full text PDF is where they've scanned the article in. So this actually came from a journal called the Moral Philosophy and Politics Journal. The article is written by Leonhard Menges. It was volume number, issue number 1, came out 2020. It was on pages 29 to 48. And the title of the article is, Did the NSA and GCHQ Diminish Our Privacy? What the Control Account Should Say. And it's a 21-page article that's listed right here. So that's sort of how you read the citation. But again, your citation is also found over here to the right. And there's your MLA. That's actually APA. And you switch it back to MLA. They remembered it because I'd switched to APA in the other example. But you can switch back to MLA. And then again, you can copy it. This one does have an author. So the author is listed with the last name, comma, first name, and then the article title is listed. And then after the article title is the name of the publication. And in this case, this was from a publication that has volume numbers and issue numbers. So we include that with the date, which was 2020, but this didn't have the exact date on it. The pages 29 through 48 just tell us that if we had this in hand, that's where the pages were in the publication. Came from the ProQuest database, and there's the link to get back to it. So all of these are the same elements pretty much that you saw in SIRS Issues Researcher, you'll see over here in ProQuest Central.
Yeah, and guys, another thing, if you use the articles from ProQuest and SIRS, they give you the citations, you copy and paste them, you may have to make a few changes, double spacing, of course, but it takes all the heavy lifting out of it for you. You've got the long string of URL information. So it makes sense to go here for your articles because the citations that you're going to need for your works cited page have already been done for you.
Right, and I also want to point out something too that's just, it's something that, we don't know if Mr. Powell, we don't know if you go through all the citations to see, see the original articles, but I do want to point out that if you did, when that generates this link, that's the correct link that will help him get back to this resource or anybody reading the article. If you come up and use the link at the top of the page, this one up here, that one won't work. It'll actually take you to a place that has a weird login, and then it won't work. So that cite button also is helpful because it gets you to the link that you need so that you can actually get back to this article if you want to. So it has it in the right format right here. Now, these are two really big, powerful databases as far as searching is concerned. And the process of how you find information is really going to be on you picking the right keywords and being able to be specific in the terms that you use. Sometimes that comes from reading some of the articles or reading your topic a little bit more. The biggest thing that I get from students is they'll get like a little snippet of information that they're supposed to do research on, and they didn't do a lot of background information or background reading on the topic itself. And so when they type in just maybe one little term, it'll give them way too many hits, and they'll get kind of confused and frustrated about what they're getting back. The process of finding information is you have to be a little bit more detailed. You have to kind of figure out exactly more what you're interested in trying to find, because the more terms you're searching for, the less hits you'll get back, and the more on target and the more relevant the hits will be when you're conducting your search. And
it's a lot easier to search 25 sources than 2,500.
That's correct. And of course, the other rule of thumb too is, and I'm guilty of this as much as anybody, when you go in and search, maybe you get a lot of hits that come back. Typically researchers This is common for everybody. Typically, researchers will see the first hits, the first 10, the first 20, and that's it. Don't do that. You can
Right.
explore a little bit more. You can click into the pages a little bit more, kind of look at a lot of different links and hits that come back, especially if you're still trying to figure out your topic and figure out what you want, because you will explore and find things that might pop up in some of these titles of articles that may lead you in a way that you didn't think of before, but it leads you actually into the direction that you really wanted to go to begin with. So just kind of be open to that. At this point, I've shown you two different databases, Search Issues Researcher and ProQuest. Does anybody have any questions at all for me before I move on? Any questions about the library before I show you some other unique resources available to you?
I have a question.
Okay.
Is there any place where I could find how to find these resources through the library page itself?
Well, so what I've done, let me go back and show you on the library page. I showed you SIRS Issues Researcher, which is found underneath this section that says search for articles. And the one right above it is the ProQuest link that I gave you. But I got a bunch of different stuff on this page. So that's why I'm going to send this page to Mr. Powell so that he can embed it into the Blackboard class, and you'll be able to come back. And when you click the link that he's going to have, it's going to come to this page. But if you want to come back and take a look at what I've shown you, you can click on selected topics to see SIRS. Or if you come over here to where it says how to find articles, you'll see the SIRS link along with the ProQuest link over here. Now, the reason that this is a little bit more advantageous is because it even kind of tells you what the database covers, and it's not as many links. I have a video over here that talks about how you can find articles. So it's a little bit more information than me just showing you this homepage on the library page.
And not only that, guys, it links how to avoid plagiarism, how to evaluate websites, all these things you see in the toolbar up here are links that can explain certain aspects of research.
The stuff I'm showing you today is you can find it on the library homepage.
Yeah.
It's just that this is going to be a more directed way for you to kind of come back in and find the things that I think will be more efficient for you to search with. And it's kind of the jumping off page so you can find all the resources in one place.
Okay, thank you.
Now, some other stuff that's on here, this is some unique resources that are available for you. You know, we do have DVDs for you to check on the library, but we have streaming videos that are available for you. And it's not just like YouTube type videos. These are videos that are academic resources. And when you click the link, how to find streaming videos, they really only have one major resource that's available for you. And it's this thing called Films on Demand. So I have a description of what it is. This is a screen capture of Films on Demand. There's a little video over here that tells you about how to find stuff. But when you click the link for Films on Demand, either here or the graphic, it'll take you to this page. But at this point, I want to show you something a little bit unique, because when you're at home and you click these links, I don't want this to kind of throw you off. But while you're at Gaston College, I'm not being asked to log into anything. It just goes straight into these resources. But when you're at home, you will run into this login page. So this is the easy proxy login that lets you get into resources. The username and password is your Blackboard username and password. So I know a lot of people will sign in one time and then they'll tell the browser to remember their login credentials, and then they forget what their login credentials are. You do have to know what your username and password are to be able to get back into this. So it will ask you to put that in. It will remember you in the session, but if you close your browser out and you come back in, it'll ask you to log in again the next day, or if you closed it out, if you open it back up, it'll ask you to log in. Typically, it's probably for the day though, because it does kind of remember you, at least until you shut your computer down. Now, if anybody runs into a problem, if you want to take a little note, just write something to the side. If anybody has a pen and piece of paper with you, there is a generic login that you can use that bypasses it in case you just forgot your username and password. and this is one that anybody can use and anybody in this class can use. You would type in, I'm gonna actually type it in here so you can see it. You will type in GC like Gaston College, NC like North Carolina, and the word live. So GCNCLIVE, if you type that in as the username and the password, it'll let you in every time. So that's just
I had to learn that lesson recently.
that's just another thing for you to remember in case something screwy happens and it doesn't, and you forgot your login or whatever. And this is fine for you to use this. So for our early college folks, just for them to know, I don't know if anybody is in early college, but I also made one called GC, called GC Spartans for the username and password. So that actually lets them in. They're people who aren't in the early college program, their mascot is the Spartans. So they can put in GC Spartans as well for the username and the password, and that also lets you in. Now, back on the Films on Demand homepage, and this is a really great place. It's got 46,000 titles for you to search. And this is another one that you can go into, keyword searching. And you can find, there's an interview from Edward Snowden. There's some people talking to Edward Snowden. There's some biographies of Edward Snowden. And all of this information that's available here, these are all videos that you can use. And the neat thing about the videos that are here is that you can also cite them if you want to, with the citation for MLA is shown here. And also most of them will give you a transcript, which is the actual text of the entire video, which is kind of neat. You can kind of, go through all the different text. You can even click on certain sections.
Yeah, if you wanted to quote from the film.
And it'll highlight the words as they're speaking. And yeah, if you wanted to grab a quote that somebody said, you can just copy it and paste it. So it's pretty nice to have the transcript available for you as well. Most of these videos have the transcripts available. Now, sometimes if you see the word segment, a segment is a part of the video. So this is part of a larger video that was created called Digital Dissidents. And so there's a lot of different parts of it, but this is the part that you're talking about, Edward Snowden. If I go back, you'll see that some things, as far as the hits, will say they're coming from title Edward Snowden, or they're coming from title NSA whistleblower. The title, this is the title of the actual video itself, and then the segment is just the title of the part of the video that you're jumping into.
Yeah, that's like being able to go to a chapter of a book rather than the whole book.
That's exactly right.
You just get that one part of the video or film that interests you and could be useful as a source.
That's correct. And this is a really great place for you to find additional information, and it's fully available online, all streaming, and it's academic, so you can use it for your papers.
Yeah, and they do have to use at least one film in their papers.
So again, coming back to this, you'll be able to find the film, you'll be able to find articles. If you're looking for books, I do have a link up here at the top. I'm kind of running a little bit quick on the time, but I do have a link for how to find books in the library. I do want to point out we have a lot of ebooks that are available for you. So you can click the ebook collection if you want to, and you can come in. I haven't done a search to see if there's any, and I know I'm being kind of around Edward Snowden, people pick different topics. So, but if I just type his name in just to see what kind of stuff comes back. Again, we've got a book called Edward Snowden, Heroic Hero, a Whistleblower, a Traitor, a Spy. Might be something somebody's interested in. When you click onto it, it's going to take you to, we're just going to pick Gaston College from this list, and it's going to take you to a place where you can click on Read Online. And this is the whole book. The cover of the book showing here. You can use the arrows to go forward, or you can click on the chapters listed over here on the side, and you can read the whole book, cover to cover. So you don't even have to come to the library. The whole ebook is available for you here through the NC Live ebook collection.
I'm glad you pointed this out, Calvin, because I usually make them use a book, physical book from the library, but I'm waiving that They still can, of course, and you said they could come to the library physically, but you
Yeah.
can use an ebook too.
So
As a
the
substitute.
folks in this drop-down menu, primarily your ebooks, articles, your streaming videos, they're all right here. The other tabs that are available for you, evaluating websites, is just something for you to keep in mind if you're doing Google or Bing searches, so that you can make sure that you are getting good quality information to come out. You might ask these questions of the web page. Fake news, this is going to help you out in discerning all the garbage that's out there on the free internet and some of the things that are in social media sites. These are some things where you can go in and do some fact checking on certain things that get posted. Or you can also come in, and if you're looking about how to recognize and evaluate conspiracy theories, I have a whole section of that over here on the right. We also have a thing to help you to not plagiarize or take people's information and use it as your own. So that's also here. And then I have the MLA and APA citation guide. So primarily you're going to use MLA. If I click it, it gives you tons of examples of how to cite different resources. Now, if you use the library databases, citations are already there. But let's say you did an interview of somebody that you really was useful for your paper. I can even show you here how you can do interviews, whether they're personal, email, or telephone interviews, and how you can put them in the correct MLA citation. So there's a lot of different ways of which you can do a resource. So when an instructor says, I want you to find resources, they're primarily talking about books, articles, videos, but you're not limited to that. There's lots of different types of resources that are out there, from religious texts to social media to statistics to, again, websites. I mean, there's a lot of things, government documents. It's a lot of things you can cite from. And so this is a little guide to help you out with that as well. It looks like I'm kind of running up on the time here. I think I might have went over the time, but
that's okay.
Does anybody have any final questions? Again, I'm going to send this link to Mr. Powell within the next 15 minutes. He'll put that in the Blackboard class, and you'll be able to just click it and you'll find everything. It's going to look just like this page. But if you need any help, please contact me. I'll be glad to help you out. But any questions?
I guess they took it all in. Well, some of it anyway, I hope.
Well, there's a lot of stuff to take in.
Yes.
So play around with these things. I really think the biggest part of it is choosing the right keyword terms to put in, and don't be too general or vague in the choices that you use. And if there's a way for you to combine terms to really describe what you're interested in, the better the hit results are going to come back for you.
Don't forget the and when you do your search.
Yeah. It's just a nice thing the database likes to have. It's sort of like talking to it. I want to find this and this in the same article, and you can add in many things.
Okay, very good. Okay, well, Mr. Craig, thank you very much.
Sure.
For your insight. We were still able to do it. We usually do this every semester, but thanks to his expertise, we're still able to have a fairly effective seminar on how to use the library's resources.
All right. Well, I appreciate the time with everybody. Remember, you got a great writing center and you got a great learning center. If anybody needs tutoring help on the campus, Learning Center can help you out with that as well.
Don't forget the chat feature for the library. Somebody will help you as well. Okay. Thanks a lot, Calvin. I'll
take
see
care.
you after a while.
Have a wonderful day.
Okay. Good deal.